Hey everybody, and welcome back to the DVD Extras. So this one is a sequel question mark of last year's. I put together every Metallica song in 4 minutes, and that was fun. And it's a really good challenge, and I decided to do it again this time, and System of a Down seemed like a really great band to do it. I originally thought I'd be able to get it done in 3 minutes because they don't have quite as many albums, not nearly as many albums as Metallica. But then, as soon as I started working on it, I realized they have a lot more tracks. And in this case, when every song is only going to be, a second or two, it turns out to be just about as much as the Metallica material, with a little bit of extra room to have Soldier Side go on at the end. So I wanted to end it with Soldier Side being by far the longest, because it's just a really nice ending and one of my favorite System of a Down songs. So we're doing like that. This one is green screened, so I just went ahead and Googled green into Google Images and put that up on the computer. Last time I made the titles beforehand, but didn't have nearly as much time this time around, so I had to find all these ways to make these videos more efficient, particularly with us having to move the other sponsored video around. So you can kind of see it in the headstock, but I think it actually looks cool. And when you do the green screen with this, you have a lot more wiggle room to where if it doesn't quite look right in camera, or if there's a spelling error or something, it can just be changed, as well as just the contrast on the computer now is perfect when otherwise, it wouldn't be. And that loses a little bit of the charm, I think, in that it being green screen and not totally looking like it actually was on the computer. But I don't know, just a different appeal. So I just sent this footage off to Jake, and then he put in all the titles and whatnot, color graded it and everything. The guitar's looking pretty cool. I have the trouble of the guitars were designed to look really great in real life, and sometimes when they get into video, because the guitars themselves are such high contrast with a Swamp Ash and dyed mahogany, that when you have really high contrast video, which a lot of my videos are, they turn out being even more high contrast, and so they look a little bit different in the videos sometimes. I feel like this is a little bit more high contrast than it would look in real life, but still look pretty cool. Maybe they look better high contrast, I'm not sure, but I guess if it's in video, you kind of just assume contrast is up on everything. And learning these songs was fun. They're all almost all of them are in a similar tuning, which is just drop C. There's only a few that were in drop C sharp, in which case I just had to move everything up a fret, which is a little bit annoying on Soldier Side, or not Soldier Side, excuse me, Lonely Day, that I'll get to quick, because I have to capo the first fret, which is never really ideal and was a bit more difficult, but I pulled it off. I think it did okay. There's a bit of a mistake in that one, but it's kind of alright. So really just the trick here is finding, it's way easier when you're super familiar with the artist material too, which I was with the first half of Metallica's stuff and pretty much all System of a Down stuff. So it's just, I would work in sections. Like I would figure out what the 4 songs I had up next were, and then just by my knowledge of the songs, I would know which parts of it were really unique to that song, and if you're a System of a Down fan, you could recognize as quickly as possible. And then you have that that knowledge of the few parts like that. Usually there's a few parts, sometimes there's only one riff that you could go to. And then you put together a structure there where it ends with the same note as the next one begins, or maybe there's a similar picking pattern in the next song that's also easily recognizable, and then you get a string of 4, maybe 5 or 6, and then you go ahead and record that, and then you just do that for the entire discography and see how well you can tie them all together. And then once you have something recorded, you can go in and figure out how to make it exactly 4 minutes. And I originally wanted to make it 3 minutes, but yeah, it turned out they have quite a bit more tracks than I anticipated. They have a similar amount of tracks to Metallica, even though they have a lot less albums. So once you have that recorded, you can edit the DI track within the DAW to be exactly 4 minutes, and then you just learn that. And then from there on, it's just a ton of practice. And so I had one day where I wrote it, this little compilation. Then the next day was practicing it a whole lot, and then the day where I would shoot, I always try to be a bit more clear-headed, and like I don't, if I'm trying to do a performance, I don't want to be thinking about the lighting or whether or not the camera battery is going off, stuff like that. So I try to give myself breaks to keep myself in the creative mood. So I'll practice it, then I'll set up the lights, practice it a bunch of times, set up the camera, practice it a bunch of times, and never get too much into production mode, because then I find I don't do really good performances when I'm out of my creative space. So it's just a matter of playing it a ton of times, and then eventually it's in your muscle memory. And this time, as soon as I got it once, I just went on to the next thing because it's been a busy month. So this is the first and only time that I've done it all in a row. So yeah, so that's this video. Next one's going to be real fun too. And yeah, thanks so much for being a patron, and have a good one.